Starr Piano Company really was one of the larger industrial concerns here in Richmond. Richmond was quite an industrial area in the 1800s. Every family had a piano in their parlor because in the days before any kind of mass entertainment that we think of today, all of the daughters, were taught how to play piano so that in the evening the family could sit around the piano and sing songs. I mean, that was a very common thing to do. But technology changed, so the Starr Piano Company did start producing phonographs because that was sort of the next, right along line with the pianos. And then they decided, well, we're putting out these beautiful pieces of furniture. Let's make the discs that people can play on them as well. So that's when they started thinking about recording music.
They opened up a recording studio in Richmond here and started looking around for talent to record. America was very segregated, in the 20s. There was considered, good, opera, classical music, and then there was considered common kind of music, blues, jazz, associated with alcohol, associated with speakeasies. It's not some place where parents wanted their kids to go. The teenagers at the time in Chicago and elsewhere just flipped out because this was the new music. This was the new jazz from New Orleans. That was danceable music. This was jazz, was kind of an upbeat, kind of a hot kind of music. The Gennett's took advantage of niches in the market. They didn't see race as a barrier for expanding their business. People of all races and backgrounds came here to Richmond to record.
The reason these bands came to little old Richmond, Indiana was because the big companies, Victor and Columbia in New York, they were doing classical music. That's what people wanted to hear, and that was the accepted, nobody listened to jazz. I mean, that was like, rock and roll in the 50s. And so only in retrospect are these recordings really, really important. At the time, it was just a way to, keep the doors open.
There was a group in Chicago that was creating a big excitement, and they were the New Orleans Rhythm Kings. And this is the group that Hoagie Carmichael flipped out on, Bix Beiderbecke was singing. So in 1922, the New Orleans Rhythm Kings came down here in an automobile and cut their first songs, like Tin Roof Blues. Within 6 months, King Oliver's Creole Jazz Band was here. A young cornetist was playing with King Oliver, and his name was Louis Armstrong. So we have the first jazz masterpieces were recorded here in Richmond. King Oliver's Creole Jazz Band was just the hit of Chicago. And then after that, it was just kind of an avalanche of recording artists that came here to Gennett. What was sort of unique about Gennett is that they didn't put a lot of restrictions on the musicians. In New York at Columbia, Victor, they would bring in musicians and they would demand they play certain ways and play certain songs, where Gennett wanted the musicians to play their best stuff, the stuff that they played on the stage. They played, the weekend before in Chicago. One of the things that's of historical importance here at Gennett is that Jelly Roll Morton, a marvelous piano player, recorded with the New Orleans Rhythm Kings right here in Richmond, Indiana. And it's the first documented instance of black and white musicians recording here, and that happened at Gennett's studio. The numbers of people who came through here are just incredible. There's about 10,000 master recordings that were made. And then from there, they would print many, many records, of course, depending on how the sales were going. Jazz became the popular music. It moved from a regional thing, New Orleans thing, to a national thing. Gennett Records, through documenting the recordings of these marvelous musicians, giving them opportunities to record at young ages, not restricting what they could record. A record, you can actually hear what the voice sounded like. You could hear what the cornet or trumpet sounded like, or the piano. And you could say, that's Jelly Roll, actually playing that Starr piano, or that is Hoagie Carmichael playing Stardust. So you can go back in time and hear that. This is a wonderful history, and the Gennetts and the Starrs before them helped it grow. It's a wonderful thing to document, and it's great American history.